Hey guys, welcome to the Game Dev Discussion Podcast. This is a super special episode. We've got a very special guest. This is episode 47, and on this episode, we have the Valve founder, Half-Life creator, Gabe Newell.
Half-Life 3!
Oh god,
That's terrible. Did I sound like him?
Is that what he sounds like? Do you think?
No,
Have you heard him speak?
No. If there's a lawsuit, that's coming because that was really bad.
Well, we're part of like this. This is under the Dynasty umbrella, so it's you who gets a lawsuit, not me, guys. Like, really, I've got man-child in my like description everywhere. So like, if you think we're going to do an April Fool's, you're sadly mistaken.
Oh man.
Basically, you know, in a lot of the Discords and people have messaged, they said it'd be interesting to do this with myself, and I thought, okay, well, this is a good opportunity. You all came here thinking you're getting Gabe Newell, God of Gaming, and instead you stuck with me. So, sorry, Jeremy's going to be here. I'm going to sit on the other side of the mic. I mean, to be fair, the podcast should still function the same. It's basically a conversation.
Yeah, we're just going to have a chat. That's all.
Have a chin wag.
A chin wag? Wagging of the chins? Dude, that sounds like a great podcast name. Wagging of the chins. Is it?
I'm sure there's one. I mean, I could introduce the world to like British slang. I don't mind.
So we can, this can go on forever, right? We can just keep talking.
Yeah. I mean, me and you end up having just random, spontaneous 2-3 hour conversations when the mood takes us. So yeah, go on as long as we need to.
So I have some questions already written down, and I figured it would just like dive into a bunch of other random stuff. I almost wonder what would happen if I asked them in reverse. Because it's like usually like progression wise, right? You just kind of go.
Oh, chronologically, like.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, it's interesting. Anyways, okay. So the first one is your future plans. Like, what are your future plans? And we start. That's the starting question. Are you ready?
Fuck. That's.
So you've done a lot. You've done a lot already. We can use this as a way to backtrack.
Okay, no, that's interesting. Okay. So future, I guess the thing I'm sort of building towards, I guess, is like my art direction skills. Like long term, like the goal is by the time I'm like in my 40s is to be an art director. It's kind of weird. Like future plans, my whole plans have been thrown up in the air because I used to say like I want to spend my 20s being a really good senior artist, get to my 30s, try and get a lead role, then spend my 30s being a good lead, and then like 40s aim for a director and get director. But with Decagon, you know, being a lead there now, and I've been a principal artist at like other studios, that kind of plan doesn't really work. But yeah, it's kind of like I'm more interested in the art direction side of stuff, and it's kind of funny because the more I think about it, the more I think I hate game dev.
Why?
Dude, I just can't stand seeing art get optimized, man. I'm just like,
someone
shows me something amazing, and I'm like, that looks really, really good. And then I see the game asset, and I'm like, oh god, it's.
But I mean, I guess that's like, so you're like, if you're an art director or like pre-production, right? Maybe that's where you prosper because you could separate game development into stages. Like I benefit, like myself, I work best when it's when you're just building to make something feel cool, and then but like finishing it, like I don't want to finish it. I want to just like go to the next thing and like reinvent something or create something that's never been seen before. But then when it comes to finishing it, I would like to be able to hand that off to a team and then make sure that it stays on that trajectory, which I guess is the art direction aspect, right?
Yeah, I've had, actually, it's funny because I have a lot of conversations with, I spend a lot of my time speaking to Michael Kinsey, another lead at Decagon, and he and me, we have very different points of view. Like, we'll talk about like cool tools people make, and Michael's all about, he wants to understand how they were made and how it works so he can understand it. And I'm kind of like, I don't care, I'll use it. If it works, it does my job. I'm happy it gets me to the result I want. And I think that's where we sort of separate as well in terms of art. Like, he's very interested in like solving the problem of art and how do we make this look good. And I'm like, I just want it to look good. I don't care how we do it. It's just going to look good.
The end result. And you're interested in the end result.
Yeah, that's kind of a lot of my projects now. I'm trying not to get myself bogged down in the sort of the creation aspect of assets. Like there's bits of my portfolio where like I show I can make assets. Now I'm kind of like, I'll use megascans, I'll use any resource available to me to achieve
Right.
looks and aesthetics that I'm after. And that's where I'm thinking like I'm tapping into like the art direction side of stuff. Um, but that's also with like that's pure ignorance as well. I imagine there's so much. That's what I want to develop over the next few years is like my understanding of that role, because this is still like a really far off goal.
Well, you've jumped ahead so far that it's like now you got all this time to sharpen the blades before the real game begins.
Yeah, that's how I see it at the moment. I'm like, yeah, I've had some lucky heads. I mean, I've been very lucky in that aspect to be in the right place at the right time, and having good people around me to help figure out my shortcomings. Um, yeah, I imagine the next couple of years is going to be a lot of like. Last year was a lot of progression. Like, I learned a bunch of shit in a really short space of time. I think for the next couple of years is going to be a much slower progression as I'm just sort of building my understanding of much more broader ideas and
Mm.
principles and stuff like
So,
that.
so right now you're a lead at Decagon, and then you're
Mhm.
also working at ArtStation. Like
Yeah.
how are you managing your time with production and then your time with life? Like, is that like how crazy does that get?
Um,
Mine's crazy. I try to manage it, and half the time I'm just exploding.
the first month was pretty brutal because I wasn't being very strict. Because so before when I was at Live Five, it was like I was at a studio. So as soon as I got home from the studio, at like because I went in at like 6, got home at 2. It was like, okay, I get home, I could start deco now, and it was like there's a very firm line on when I start. Um, Whereas now, that first month at our station, because it's all working from home, it was like there was no boundaries. It was just I would just sort of fade between the things. So I'd like get to my computer at like 8 o'clock in the morning, start deco for like an hour, but then have an email I want to answer from Art Station. So I just start Art Station at like 9 and not
Oh,
finish
so you're
until.
literally jumping between the two
Well,
as you
what
go.
happened was I said I wasn't going to do that, and like it
Yeah.
ended up being like I was doing like inadvertently doing like 12-hour days for Art Station just because
Yeah.
there's always sort of another person to contact plus time zones and stuff like that. And I've gotten better. Like this month's been a lot better. So now it's like as soon as I wake up until 12 o'clock,
Yeah.
I'm basically fasting the whole time. I'm not eating any food or drinking anything but water.
Oh man, we're going
Because
back to that one after. Yeah.
well, dude, I need it because it's like I thrive off routine. I'm a creature of habit. So I'm like, okay, 12 o'clock. I'll get up. I'll walk the dog and get something to eat. Um, and then it's like, okay, when I sit back down at my desk, that's our station time. And I'll work until like 8 p.m. Sometimes there's because of time zones like this. I had a meet with Tim Simpson. It's like 11 o'clock at night or half 11 at night.
Yeah.
Because of the time zone. So like, there's obviously that I have to work around. So if I know I've got to do that, I might finish like half hour early, take the the evening off, and then jump back on it at half 11 to finish
Right.
off
So
that
your
week.
ArtStation time can just kind of randomly
Yeah,
happen
it
within a
does.
schedule,
Yeah,
of course. But yeah.
yeah. But then it's like so deco. I'm doing about probably only like 10 hours a week on deco. Then it's if that. Art station, yeah, it's about 40 hours a week plus podcast and personal art.
Mm.
I'm getting a lot better at working between them now. Like, like I said, the
It's like
beginning
getting in
is a
the
bit
flow.
chaotic. Yeah, and then I've also got a wife and a dog, and I've got like to make time for them.
Yep.
Um, but that's I actually quit rugby. I was playing rugby again, started playing amateur. I ended up quitting because I just needed my time. Like, there's about 14 hours a week being dedicated to it, and I was like, that's
Oh
14
man.
hours that could be dedicated to Charlotte or to work or personal work. So I was like, okay, I've got to axe that. I can't keep doing that.
Yeah. When you put that all together, like the
Mm.
totaling, your free time is literally either sleeping or hanging out with your partner and dog.
Dude, when you total the time up, it's so eye opening. It's the exact reason why I trained. When I was at Live Five, I trained myself down to 5 hours sleep a night, just because I was like, over the course of the month, that 2 hours or 3 hours of sleep I'm saving every day, is like it just added up so much. I was like, fuck it, I'll do that, and it worked out really well. Now I haven't got an alarm clock. I've been a bit lazier, so I'm now back up to like 8 hours sleep.
Yeah, I've let mine
Uh,
slip because it's
it
like
dude, it feels
you
bad
need
though.
it.
It is bad.
You need those hours though, man. Like I
Um,
can tell like my memory is real bad when I'm going on like 5.5. But
I
just
think I've
going
got
up to
bad
like
memory,
6.5, my memory starts to be fine again.
dude. My memory is appalling. I have to like have a notebook by my desk at all times. I just write down like to do lists.
Yeah, you
I just forget
just
otherwise because if I don't,
it's like
I'm
you
just
guys
like
can't see it, but he's just showing me all types of images.
all types of images and my
It's
ramblings and
like
drawings. But yeah, I have to do that. My memory's shit. I've always had an awful memory.
for the record, his
Um,
writing's amazing.
oh god, whoever's the doctor scribbles. Charlotte gets back because Charlotte works at a hospital and she's doctors have like a reputation of having bad handwriting, and she's like, your writing's worse than doctor's handwriting, and I'm like, oh shit, that's a pretty
Does that
bad
mean you get
news.
paid more though, right? You get some more money out of that.
If it was like that, dude,
Hesitation.
I'd write with my mouth if it meant I got more money for having bad handwriting.
Perfect. So, with like all the stuff that's going on with everyone starting to work from home, I guess that hasn't affected you. Because like for me, I'm
Yeah,
working at home the whole time now, and usually I'm
yeah,
used to going to the office at 8:30 every morning.
yeah. It's been really weird because people have been asking me like, oh god, yeah, how's life? You know, how are you coping? And I'm like, my day to day hasn't changed one bit. Like, I still take the dog out for a walk at the exact same time, still eat at the exact same time. My work day hasn't changed.
Just harder time getting
Um,
toilet paper, I guess. That's about it.
well,
That's about
we're
it.
we're Costco shoppers, so we have like we buy in bulk anyway. So we're
Oh, so
like
you've been
we
spending like that the whole time.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, but the only thing I have found interesting, and it's been you could probably allude to it a little bit, is how quickly some businesses has migrated to working from home. You know, like so our station, for example, is like that. We were just straight away, everyone's working from home, super seamless because
Mm.
a lot of people can work via laptops. Our jobs don't require us to have crazy hardware. But it's also game studios. I think game studios just transition to working from home super easy, and it's like it's very interesting to watch because I'm like, okay, once this all settles and we get to like this time next year, I'm very curious to see what the landscape looks like for studio culture, studio structures.
Man, I hope it doesn't go away. To
I hope that.
just have the flexibility, not to like be able to be working late into the evenings, but like if something comes up and you lose like half a day and you had to go home for something, to be able to just
Mm.
go home and like get that 4 more hours in to meet your daily quota.
Yeah, I've
It's
got.
super
Oh God.
slippery though. I can feel it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, okay, crunch culture goes away. You don't stay at your office anymore, but suddenly it's a lot easier for you to crunch at home because you just do the extra hours in the evening.
You could argue
It's
that
like,
it goes away because no one's seeing it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, okay, it's a very fine line. And it might not, you know what, we might get to this time next year and nothing's changed. Everyone's just gone back to being in studios.
Yeah.
Um, but I know, I've said this a few when I had Hannah on a podcast. Decagon functions incredibly well and it shouldn't. I don't understand why it functions because I think of it like everyone's remote, no one's face to face meeting or talking, yet we run like a well-oiled machine. And I'm like, we shouldn't. By all rights, we should be having loads of trouble with time zones and being on the same page and all these kinds of things. Yet it runs well. And I'm like, okay, if we can do this and we're juggling like 15, 16 projects at once,
Right.
it's like
So it's like
it
watching
shouldn't be that
gears that are
difficult.
rotating, right? So a company is just a bunch of gears rotating and interacting with each other. And somehow
Mm.
Decagon is gears floating in space, rotating and affecting each other, even though they're not touching.
Exactly. And I'm like, it
Like
can't be
what?
that. That is actually a great analogy. I love that. I'm using that in future. It's like, I don't see, I'm like, traditional game studios, doesn't feel like it should be that difficult to transit. Like, look how quickly everyone's up sticks and got their shit at home and got themselves working. Like, that's off the cuff with zero planning.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, it
did
just
it
kind of
planning, but
happened, right?
yeah. So I'm like, okay, what does that look like now with like everybody thinking about this and really putting their brain into it to figure out the best solution long term. I'm like, I have no doubt we could solve that. It's whether they want to or not. Because I know there's a bunch of complications that come with it. I understand that, but
Yeah, there's
I don't
weird
know. I
lag
just
stuff. Like you can't do like Blender through a VPN like remote desktop,
really,
right? I mean, you can, but it's super laggy, or it's delayed just enough to be annoying.
yeah, enough to break your concentration.
Yeah, and like you can't even open Blender if it's PC like Windows remote because you get an OpenGL issue. Same with
Oh,
substance tools. There's an OpenGL blocker essentially.
it's a shame it has to all be remote. I know I get why it is, but maybe that's why we function easier at Deco because we're not handling the engine side of stuff. We just we get VPNs to like access people's perforce and stuff like that.
Right.
And we're
But
only updating
that's about it.
levels. Yeah, we don't have access to any engine stuff, so it's like, okay, maybe that's why because we only open a level, and we'll set that level up, and then we'll give it to them to actually do the technical back end, get it all implemented. So maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff I'm kind of like, yeah, I just see us evolving, and I'm kind of, it's like when people watch the stocks for what's going on in the world at the moment.
Hmm.
I'm like that, but with just like business culture, what businesses are doing, and like the economics behind it. Um,
It's
because it
looking
frees up
pretty
a bunch of
intense right
money.
now.
Yes, I've just had as we're talking now, I've just had a text message from the government saying we're officially on lockdown, and I've got to like, I don't know, do. Yeah, you're just not allowed to go out now. You must stay home. That's all it says.
You must stay home. That's amazing.
More info and exemptions at gov.uk/coronavirus. It's like, okay, that's great.
um, so how like what's the next thing I was going to talk about? The arts. So you're at ArtStation as well, and
Mm.
you guys switched to working from home pretty easily. But like, what is it like? Like, what's the difference? Like, what is it like working at ArtStation? Or like, is the speed different from how game development goes?
Um, it's definitely an adaptation period. Game dev, you is think of it like this: game dev, you constantly have something chasing. You have an attack dog constantly chasing you, and if you don't keep running, it's going to get you. Our station is like trying to navigate a foggy forest. Like you have a goal, but it's so far away you can barely see it. So you're having to like rely on your planning and your map to like get you there, but you have
Yeah.
no sense of whether or not this is going to work. So all the strategy, all the teams doing together to work out the best route forward. The goal is so vague and ambiguous that it's like we have to trust our plan that we will end up there. So that means when we're planning, it's super like you have to scrutinize every aspect of it to make sure we're actually all doing the right thing. Whereas game dev is like obviously you have day to day tangible goals. Like I have to make this prop. I finish my prop. I move on to the next prop. I make this
Mm,
prop, and you have this like it sounds bad, but this isn't being negative. But like it's a conveyor belt. You constantly have something to be doing.
right.
Um, and I have to admit I do miss that in some aspects. Luckily, I've got Decagon to keep sort of scratch that itch a little bit. Um, yeah, our station is kind of like you're it's very autonomous. You obviously have goals. We have sprints, we have stand ups, we have all these kinds of stuff. But you can kind of like you kind of not make your own work, but you have to make your own tasks sometimes and be use your initiative.
Like self agile.
Yeah, and luckily I did a lot of that. I have to do that on my own time anyway, just because of like I'm quite busy, so I have to have that mindset anyway. So it's quite a natural adaptation period. But yeah, not having that day to day tangible task is very odd. And it is something I do kind of because that pressure is like what gets it's that call to action. Like when I have someone chasing me and that pressure's on, I work a lot better than when the pressure's off.
Yeah.
Like if someone walked up to me and went, "Shit, we need to have all this content ready," and like by Friday, if we don't have it, like the company fails. It's like shit,
Yeah.
okay,
Super
and that's
clear
when I work best.
deadlines. That's
Yeah,
that's
and
when
that's when I
the
work best.
engine turns on, really.
Yeah, while I'm like, because otherwise you get lethargic, and I have to admit, I'm setting hard deadlines on myself now. So every day I write a to do list, and like that to do list has to be finished. I try to fill it up as much as I can, and just having that pressure on myself is like it just fires me to actually to work because otherwise I'm like I'm slow and I'm like I'll get to it tomorrow. It's not really urgent, and
Is that why you have so much gray hair?
I have grey hair for settling down with Charlotte at the age of 15. Like I started going grey when I was 15.
So you're
Uh,
like leading the pack when it came to like being the gray fox with the to do list.
Oh, dude. You know what? You joke about that at Vertex. So I did a panel at Vertex,
Yeah.
and like all the guys there were in their like 40s. They're like veterans, and we had to go through and do a panel. And they're all from like one of them worked for Pixar, the other worked for Epic. So yeah, really established guys, and they're all like, the question went around, when did we get into the industry? And they're all like, oh, we got in like late 80s, early 90s, and it got to me as the last person, and I was like, well, it's funny because I was born in the mid 90s, so like, I didn't get into the industry until about 10 years ago,
Oh
which is
man.
super interesting. But then they all looked around and went, "You're wait,
What?
how old are you?" And I'm like, "I'm 26."
You
They're like,
what?
"No, you can't be." They could not believe it. I was like, "Oh shit,
That's
this grey hair really
impossible.
sad hurt." They didn't believe me. We had a
Oh
drink
man.
after, and they were like, "How are you 26 without a head of hair?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's followed me through life."
That's amazing. I mean, dude, I would coin you the George Clooney of the industry. You're Clooney.
I mean, I want to take that as a compliment, and I expect you to buy me a drink next time I see you for that one.
I mean, I would buy
Uh,
George Clooney a drink, so why not?
I mean, that's the nicest thing someone said to me. Actually, speaking of stuff someone said to me, I remember we spoke about this previously. At a previous company, someone was describing me, and they went, and they meant this in the nicest way possible, bless them. But they were like, "You're like a cancer," and I was like, "Excuse me? You're like a cancer?" I was like,
uh,
"How?" And I was super taken aback. And it was like, "No, you have a way of like working your way into a system and making it work the way you think it needs to work." And I'm like, okay, there's nicer ways of saying that than calling me. He meant it purely positively. He didn't mean any offense by it. I was like, that is the weirdest phrasing I've ever heard as a
that's so
compliment.
good.
Like, is that a backhanded compliment? I'm not sure, but I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it could be taken a ton of different ways.
Jesus, it's so easy to be like, that's just a negative because I've heard people get called that like as a pure derogatory term. I'm like, but he meant it as a positive, and I was like, okay, you need to think this shit through better, dude, because if I was someone else, that's an HR report right there. But it is,
Oh
isn't it?
no.
Imagine getting called that. Like you just, oh yeah, you're like a cancer in this company. I'm like, I think that breaks some people down to
You're like,
tears.
it's a good thing I wasn't drinking anything. That shit would be everywhere.
Oh god, no, I've stopped. I've nearly done that in the office. So I've like stopped taking drinks into meetings because I've nearly done that.
Really?
I laugh spontaneously in meetings, like when people say dumb shit. So I'm like, I've just done it for when I've been drinking and it's like I've got to do that, like spit and then like come out my nose. Oh, it's been shocking. So I don't take drinks into meetings at all,
Wow. I
apart from this podcast.
I'm like the one person that is always sitting there with a coffee with my leg crossed and they're just like, "What's he is he trying to fake that he's an art director or what's going on here?"
Oh, dude, I wish I liked coffee. I genuinely wish I liked
It's
coffee. Like
magic. It's magic to
I've
me.
tried. I'm not adult enough. I'm not an adult. That's the problem. Everyone always says to me like, "Grow up and drink coffee." And I'm like, I wish I could, but what can you do? Be a man
Uh,
child forever.
so this is a kind of like a question to like show people that you're human. So
Oh god.
much so much human in the Alyx. So you've told me this story. It's more of like tell me this story again so people can hear it. But it's essentially when you join the Empire, when you join the Discord, like where you were at in your world, like what was happening to you, and then
Okay,
you look
yeah.
at it and where you're at now, right?
I give this in my
It's
presentation.
crazy.
So, I do a lot of. I've been doing a lot of uni talks this year. Obviously, until all this shit happened. Um, but basically, there's a slide in there where I show my portfolio being reviewed by you. This is in November 2017. Um,
Oh, that's weird.
and it, yeah, and it's
Anyways,
like it
yeah.
wasn't in a good place. It was in a very bad place. But basically, yeah, when I joined, I was like, I was very. I joined about 2017. I was just very arrogant and very resentful of the industry. I was working in iGaming. I've been doing mobile games and iGaming for a couple of years, and I was very much like I can model, I can texture, I can make environments, I can make materials. Why am I not getting the AAA jobs I'm applying for? And I was getting very I had a very big chip on my shoulder. Um, when I joined the community, like I was starting to I was on the verge of basically giving up and just being like, fine, whatever. I'll just do whatever.
What's that though? Like, so you're on the verge of giving up, but were you thinking about like your
Uh,
secondary plan? What was the
I
backup?
was. It was there was still so at the time I was still going into professional rugby. I was still doing that, so I was looking at that as my option. But long term, it doesn't really pay the bills as well as an actual career. I was just sort of going, okay, maybe I will settle for where I've made it as an artist, and I'm not going to go any further. And I would like look into. I've always been interested in business and stuff like that, so I was like, maybe I should pursue like management, all these kinds of things. And yeah, I joined the Discord, and basically, first like few months I was kind of watching. I was like, oh, this is quite a neat place, and people, oh Jesus, Josh Lynch is in here. Oh God, Ben Wilson's in here. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then I watched one of your streams, and then like it was you like learning Unity, or no, it wasn't learning Unity. It was you were doing something, you were learning something, and I remember thinking like I was like, okay, let's research this guy. And like, oh, senior environment artist, massive shit. And sort of just clicked in my head. I was like, damn, this guy's a senior, like over 10 years experience, and he's still learning and he's still humble. And yeah, it was kind of a slap into reality to be like, I need to really sort my shit out. If this guy's still learning with that much experience, I have so far to go. I got a portfolio review of you, and there's a ton of stuff that got pulled up. And I know I picked your brains a bit more after, and I worked out a development plan. Um, so yeah, I spent the whole of 2018 pretty much only doing materials because everything in my portfolio has been let down by textures
Dude,
and materials.
I think the first time that I really had a conversation with you was when you were getting flack for what was it? You were getting flack for replicating materials and then putting them on your portfolio because you were just starting to do materials. Do you remember me
Yeah,
messaging you about that? I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Hey,
Because
you're
I was
getting
doing
like
the
this weird.
tutorials.
There's like weird messages starting to come to me about you
Yeah,
and your material building." And I'm like, just make sure to credit whoever just to
yeah. I
cover
remember because I
yourself.
was doing it. Yeah, I was following the JRO and Rico tutorials, and I posted them. So I followed the tutorial and posted it, and it didn't include like the link to it, and I was like, oh, okay, that was really bad. Like that was just stupid.
I was just
Uh,
weirded out by the reaction because
no, it's a warranted reaction to be
it
fair.
is
Like,
warranted. I guess I just I don't think like that. Everyone's just
um,
learning and building, and it's like you're not trying to profit off of anything, and like you're just kind of
no,
going.
no. So 2018, I just sort of went, okay, all my environments were being let down by textures. All of my material, I only had one material on my portfolio at the time. It's some really bad like concrete texture, and I was kind of just like, I need to learn this and actually understand it before I
Yeah,
can really dip my toe into environments to call myself an environment artist. So I don't know if anyone was following me back then, but like in 2018, I did nothing but materials, just to really. That was like a training year, like a year off. I'm not going to apply for jobs. I'm just gonna get good at a designer. And then all of last year, it was just nothing but environments. So I've released one, two, three, four, five environments last year. And it's like that was me taking what I learned as designer and applying it. And like it last year was a very good year for me. A lot of opportunities came my way. But yeah, it was like that. Getting rid of that arrogance early on and that chip off my shoulder was super important. Because I was probably quite a toxic person back then as well. I was just very resentful of everything. I was like, that guy isn't even that good. I can do that. And it's like now as I get older, I'm like, as I'm understanding stuff more, I'm realizing how little I know. I think I talked to Andreas last week about it, the Dunning Kruger effect. Like that's becoming very real for me. Um,
that you
and
just
also
don't know
being,
everything.
yeah, and also just being
Yeah,
okay with not knowing everything. Like
yeah.
as a lead for Deco, I'm not the best artist in there. There's guys on one of the projects I'm on who are absolutely killing it and they're doing a better job than I could do. It's like I'm fine with that. Like, yeah, be the better artist. I want you to be the better artist. Like, that's fine. I'm becoming more and more okay with not being the best artist in the room.
Right.
Um, and that's because I've tried to keep myself a jack of all trades and not specialize. That's why every time anyone calls me a materials artist, I'm like, I'm a materials and environment artist. I'm not just a materials artist. We've I have nothing but apples all over my portfolio. Like,
But like, so you went from you basically started growing rapidly in the Discord, um, just by being present and constantly posting stuff, right?
yeah, just being active. Also, it helps as well that everyone in our Discord I class as friends.
Yeah.
I enjoyed their company, like sitting in voice chat. I won't forget there was an evening where it's me, you, Jay Cummings, Dirk Olsoff, and I think it's Neil, and we were sat critiquing my safe house scene. We were like redoing the lighting, and that was one of the most productive evenings of my life because we were just like, yeah, all the feedback I was getting and the critique I was getting and the conversations we were having just helped make that scene that extra like 30% better. And like everyone in there, everyone in the Discords, I class as friends. Like I talk to all of them
Mm.
socially as well as professionally. And yeah, just by being in there a lot and being present, I suppose I always say is be present and there for people like goes a long way because you build genuine relationships. I mean, this is one of the things I say to people in my talks is like, um, networking is like a bullshit term. It's like all you're doing is building relationships.
Yeah, you're just
Like say,
talking. You're talking to
yeah, like
people.
me and you.
Yeah.
Me and you talking on Discord, and you first giving that portfolio critique, and then we carry on talking. And then we've ended up doing like the podcast as a partner with the Dynasty. It's like you're just building a relationship.
Yeah, I mean,
You're working
you were like, "Hey,
relationships.
I want to do a podcast," and you basically asked me if that was cool. Like, were you planning on doing that? And I'm like, is it cool? That's a weird. I thought that was a weird question. I was like, well, yeah, I would love to do a podcast, but I can't do one. And then I felt weird about it, but I just asked you, do you want to just do it for us?
It's after the first one, weren't it? It's literally I did Ben Wilson's one. It was the first episode,
Yeah,
and they're like, "She, you want to do it for us?" It's like, "Yeah, okay." The second one was Tim, and it's like, "Yeah,
yeah,
okay." Dynasty.
yeah. That's
It's
interesting.
yeah, it's hard because I get people are busy. Um, I really do, but I always say like you can't be serious unless you're willing to sacrifice. You're not really serious about it.
Yeah,
I can't remember. Someone said that once, and it's stuck with me ever since. And I'm like, yeah, I've had to sacrifice a lot of time, to the podcast. And it's funny, actually. This is what I said. All my working opportunities for the past year and a half has all come from the podcast. It's not come from someone seeing my portfolio and like getting in touch. It hasn't come from me applying. Decagon came from the podcast, is building a relationship with Clinton and Taylor, and getting the opportunity with Enrico, then doing the collab, then going into production. All of that was from the podcast.
right.
ArtStation, it was they came on ArtStation to announce learning. Built a relationship with Randall and Leo, and then it was like, hey, do you want to do some learning content for us? So I created learning content. Oh, you're quite good at that. Do you want to be the learning content manager? I'm like, it that came from the podcast, and that's why I always harp on about like being active and like being building these relationships. They are important. It is an important part of our careers,
Yeah.
but it always gets thrown away to just adding people on LinkedIn, which is super frustrating.
Um. So this is super out there by comparison to the questions. Have you played any of the Half-Life games? Because your
Um,
age group is where I start hearing people say no.
I haven't. No,
You
I
haven't?
haven't.
Okay.
No, I was never. Well, you gotta understand. I didn't actually start PC gaming until 2011 when I went to college, and like
Oh wow.
the the
Okay.
the lecturer was like, "You need to get like a PC to do 3D work. You
Yeah.
need to get Steam." And he there and then he made us download Team Fortress 2,
Oh
and
man.
that was my first exposure to PC culture in general. Because up until that point, I was like Call of Duty, Halo, Gears of War, PlayStation 1, Tomb Raider, Crash, Spyro, Abe.
Yeah.
I was never really. I didn't have any. I didn't know what CS:GO was like until 2011.
That's
Um,
amazing. So you were basically you were in sports.
Yeah, I was full on jock. I was a full on
On
jock.
jock. I mean, I wasn't gonna say that, but
Oh, dude, I remember my first time I rocked up in Inspired. People were like, "You don't look like an artist or a game dev," because that was when I was like in a height of like professional rugby.
yeah.
They're like, "You don't look like a dev," and I'm like, "Yeah, I get that a lot." But over the course of quitting rugby, my body's slowly got out of shape, and now I'm looking a bit more chubbier than I used to be. But yeah, dude, I did. Yeah, I had no idea of it. I got to I got to PC and I was there like, oh, you need to get Team Fortress 2. And I'm like, okay, what's that? Like, what? What do you
Wow,
mean you
that
don't know
is
what Team
so
Fortress is?
interesting.
And CS:GO. They explained to me like League of Legends,
Yeah.
Dota, StarCraft, Age of Empires, all this stuff. I just had no understanding of, no traction on.
Wow, so it's like
It's,
it's almost like finding water and then realizing you actually need it.
the problem was I didn't have. So this is funny because they were like, "You need to play Half Life," and I'm like, I didn't have the rose tinted glasses, so I played it and I was like,
Oh
"It's
man,
okay."
it's rough. It's
Yeah,
rough
I'm
if
like,
you've never played it.
it's, it didn't play great. And like the episode 2 wasn't too bad. It was playable, it was bearable.
Yeah.
But yeah, my first, but to be fair, my first exposure to PC, so I got the PC and I had my Christmas. My mum got me like pitched in. I was using my rugby money to help pay for it, but she got me. We went halves on a PC. First game I got was Arkham Asylum.
Nice.
Um, but straight away I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to plug in my controller to play this because third person games on PC can be a bit sketchy.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I need to play this on a controller. So my first PC game, and I plugged the controller straight in, and I was playing with the controller instead of mouse and keyboard. Um, but like at college, dude, I had so much gaming time at college because my lecturer was basically useless.
Mm.
He literally was like, "We should play Call of Duty 4" because he had a cracked copy of it. And
Your lecturer had a cracked copy of Call of
yeah,
Duty.
yeah, he made us all install it, and then we all played it. But then he was like, he basically was he got us to download UDK
Yeah.
and use it in our final major project. And then we put our hand up and be like, yeah, dude, I'm struggling with this. How do I do this? I don't know. And he just put the Alien in our last 2 weeks of the final major project. He just put the Alien series on the whiteboard and just what we watched that. And that was kind of why I got disenfranchised from like higher education. That's why I didn't go to university. I was like, screw this. I taught myself all of this so far. I don't want to do this again. Like, I don't need to pay to do this. So I didn't go
What is your
because
opinion on schools though? Like I
I think
people have all types of weird views on it. Resentful usually.
yeah, they are normally resent. Again, as I've the more I've thought about it, the less resentful I am. I think people definitely go in. Okay, they're definitely overpriced, and they definitely are doing some of the wrong things. But from doing the talks, I've seen some unis do it really, really well, and they're doing a good job. The first thing I'd say is like I hate it when I see people just come in and smack talk the uni like in
Yeah.
discords or like social media because I'm like it's almost justifying why they're not making it or why they're not doing well, and I'm like,
Yeah, for
yeah,
some
it's
people
too
that's
many.
how they justify it, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm like, no, that's not a pass because I'm seeing too many people come out of uni who are absolutely shit hot, and yeah, they had the exact same experiences as you, yet they're doing well. Like you can't hide behind a bad uni. But there are benefits to unis. I feel like they should. So for gamer, like purely gamer, I don't think you need to go
Mm,
uni.
right.
If you want to become a games artist, you don't need to go uni. Obviously, there's some academic fields where you do. However, there are still benefits to uni. You know, getting away from your home and having to move out. That's a huge. Like people think too much about hard skills and like tangible things, and it's like what you can grow, how you can grow as a person at university is still very valuable. I just wouldn't pay 9 grand a year for it.
Yeah. Yeah, getting those
You know,
soft skills is
well, yeah,
like just
moving out of
sitting
your
with
parents'
people and
house.
working with people and
Mm.
yeah, being on your own. It's more
Yeah, being
about, I
independent.
guess, like growing up.
Yeah, it's all that, and it's sort of stuff uni's teaching you, being able to actually write properly, being able to formulate, arguments and emails and all these kinds of things. Like learning to do that. And that's one thing I will say. As a self-taught artist, I still can't write to this day. Like I'm terrible. People have to proofread my shit because
I'm the
I'm a
same
terrible
dude.
writer. Um, and I've been very lucky in the fact that I've been working from such a young age. I've been able to buy a house and stuff like off from a young age. So I went straight from living with my mum. to owning a house with Charlotte. Um, I
Yeah, that's
never did
pretty
the whole rent
impressive.
thing,
You never
but
did the whole rent thing.
no,
Like,
no,
you know,
I've never
that
rented.
phase that most people like never get out of. Yeah, never.
But I think the really interesting thing is I just think unis they're there to help you grow as a person. And
Mm,
if you were going in expecting them to teach you every skill you're going to need to be a games artist, you're going to be sadly mistaken because this is not enough time. The unis have a budget. They're going to struggle to get experts in. Like I know when I've been to teach them, a lot of them are like academics who haven't got any games experience because all the game artists are working in the games industry.
right.
So they're kind of like regurgitating information they're finding online. So yeah, I'm kind of like go to you if you're going to go to uni, have a very open mind in a sense of they're to me a uni should point you in the right direction. They show you the possibilities. Here's software you should be looking at. Here's pipelines you should be looking at. But at home you should be doing your own thing.
So it's more of a platform.
Exactly. It's more like a platform, 100%. But I think it's when I see like it is very frustrating when I see people just be very their backs up, chip on their shoulder, shit talking at unis because I know you've seen me say it in the past in the Discord. It's a reflection on you as a person.
Yeah.
It's a point of it's something to blame, which is very disappointing. And I as long as I keep seeing great artists come out of uni, I'm never gonna completely discount university because I see too many good artists come out of them. And
Right.
also, it's different country to country, man. Like the UK, the games university scene is not as strong as say like Sweden or America. But then like America's its own beast because the
America's
cost.
weird.
The cost.
America's weird when it comes to this type of because it's a specialty education, right? So
Yeah,
specialty schools are going to do it, which usually means it immediately
exactly.
is more expensive.
Yeah, the numbers I see floated around for education in America, I kind of begin to quantify. Like for a UK student, you're paying back like £40 a month for education, whereas I know for Americans, like you're almost paying like what $600 $700 a month.
Yeah, mine's like 380 still right now.
See, that's I can't even begin to comprehend that. That's mind boggling for me. But I'm lucky. I live a little sheltered life. Right? I've been in the UK my whole life, so I don't have to
They're
worry.
like, "Oh, he's got gray hair. We should go easy on him. He's already seen so much." And
I had a tough paper round.
so going back to like the future plans. So you're at ArtStation right now, and you're doing Decagon stuff. And you want to be an art director. How are you? You talked a little bit about it. Like, how are you aligning yourself up with that? You said you're going to be doing a little bit slower process for
I
like the
think
next year.
I'm still going to do what so like the material balls and stuff like that. I still do them because I find them fun to do. Although they're not practical. Um, I think it's more I've done so the safe house scene and the snow scene were like based off a concept. The Cerberus scene was a completely concept reference,
Yeah,
and the Stairway to Heaven was based off a photograph. I think the project I'm working on at the moment, I think just designing a space and a narrative and a story that's mine, and I can take ownership of
yeah.
is a lot more important. So I'm going to be using a lot of like mega scans as much as I can to cut down production time. Um, I think it's focusing more on the big picture than how do I make this really cool decal work exactly how I want it to. If I could rip it out of Quixel, I'll use the Quixel one.
Right.
I think it's just creating spaces and stories on a larger scale that are mine. So the project I'm working on is going to be like the main final piece is a video where it's like leading you through a space and there's like this big overarching story. Um,
Have you told
and
anyone what this is yet? Or are you
uh,
keeping that quiet currently?
I'm still trying to figure it out. It's basically one big visual metaphor for Jungian psychology. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but it's like that plus like a observation of Dante's Inferno,
Hmm.
and just sort of doing that through visual storytelling in the environment. Um, I forget his name. He did a talk on he's a designer. I worked on Blade Runner, and he did a talk on like the psychology behind the Chris Nolan movies, and he talks about the ego and the shadow and how the film has this big visual metaphor for it, and I'm like, I'm basically trying to do that, but with an environment. Um, but in terms of the details, I'm still trying to figure it out because I don't think it all makes sense. I've just finished blocking out, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this don't work the way I need it to, so I'm having to go back to the drawing board a bit and try and work it out. Yeah, I think there's moving away as well from like trying to do everything myself. Like that Stairway to Heaven scene was so much fun because I wasn't stressing about making every texture and every
Right.
mesh. It was like, just use the tools available to me. Let's see if I can achieve the image I want to achieve. And I remember one of the guys gave me a really good compliment. He was like, I actually prefer your version to the original photograph.
Oh
And I
wow.
was like,
Okay.
that's a nice compliment. I
Yeah,
was like,
that's
that was
awesome.
one of the nicest ones I've had about any of my art. Yeah, that hit home. Is that Christmas? I was like, oh, that's a Christmas
So
present.
you got all emotional then, like you felt that
I did.
one.
It hit home, and I was like, damn, that's anyone saying that. It's you were able to one up the original reference. Because normally, like it's like Chinese whispers. You have a reference image, and as you go through it, you're kind of retelling the story, but it's not quite the original. It's normally a watered down version. But
Right.
for someone to say, no, you took it and you made it better, like that was a really really great comment. I think he was actually blue from our Discord.
Oh yeah.
I think it's blue. I'm gonna see if we can find it now. I think it's on my air station. Yeah, it was Henry. Um, on the yeah, it that was a very kind comment. Yeah,
So,
that rocked me.
so when I guess you're saying like you're trying to cut down on like building everything. You're essentially saying like once you know how to build a cardboard box, you should not have to build them every single time. Like
Yeah,
build your library, even if it's coming from like a marketplace.
yeah, because I've said this before. Like when you're building your portfolio, it's a checklist. If I want to be an environment artist, it's like, okay, have I shown I can use trim sheets? Yes. Have I shown I can use modular kits? Yes. Have I shown I can create materials and unique textures? Yes. Have I shown I can make props? Yes. Like once I've checked that list in my head, I'm like,
Yeah.
right, now I get to enjoy myself. And if anything comes up, like so say for example, the role drastically changes and everyone needs to know Houdini, which is starting to become quite the reality. It's like, okay, maybe so that's actually something in the back of my mind for later this year. Is like maybe I should make a piece of Houdini art, like an environment built from Houdini, just to say,
Oh
look, I can
really?
do this.
Oh, this
I
is
think,
okay. Can we unpack that? Do we have time to unpack that? Like
yeah, why not?
what do you mean everyone when you say everyone should be learning Houdini, do you literally
So I think it's something that is so it's not so much Houdini, it's that skill set. So it's like, if I said everyone needs to know how to do a trim sheet, doesn't
Yeah,
matter what you use, if it's Max, Maya, whatever, you just need to know how to use them. I'm sort of starting to feel like the procedural tools like Houdini and it's stuff like Gaia and World Machine.
right.
Um, I think it's a worthwhile investment, just to show you understand it. Because as we go forward, I think these tools are going to become more and more prevalent. And even if it's not Houdini, like the whole idea of procedural stuff and mass building on scale,
Right.
knowing how to do that and understanding it, I think is going to become more
I
and
mean,
more.
you're seeing that with Star Citizen, like
Yes,
in their
exactly,
planet building, right? Like you can't just curate that by hand. Like
exactly.
you have to build rules and make it happen for you
Well,
instead of
it's
trying
that,
to
and
sit
it's
there and
like
do it.
just having that skill set. It's like I said, it's a checkbox. Do one project where you just you wrap your head around Houdini and you do something cool with it, and you show you did something cool with it, and it's like great, I've checked that box. You don't need to do it every project. You don't need to do it every opportunity, but
Right.
it's like anyone because that's what your CV and your portfolio are meant to answer questions. Someone an art manager looks at your portfolio and they should answer a bunch of questions in their head. Oh look, he's done lighting, he's done propping, he's done shaders, he's done materials. Great, we have a comprehensive idea of who this artist is. Add another feather to your cap that you've shown a little bit of procedural tech. It's only beneficial. Like what's the harm in it? Saying that everyone needs to is obviously generalizations are dangerous because people could take them quite literally.
That's why I was
Um,
curious, like how you were going to open
yeah,
that.
I just say it's like the general. I don't know actually. No, the generalization that every environment artist needs to know trim sheets, I think, is a fair generalization. But it's one of these things that it's going to be useful and it's probably a worthwhile investment.
Mm,
It's kind of like if you bet on a stock, it's like okay, it's an educated guess. It's probably the best thing to do. But I would like, if you didn't enjoy it and like you hated the whole process of doing it, great, don't do it again. Like, but at least show you understand that idea of procedural tech. Because like I said, it might not be Houdini, it might be Gaia, it could be Blender, it could be anything. It's just show you get it. Same with
Yeah, show
materials.
that you understand that
Yeah, because you can make
as a
materials. So like
process.
say you understand designer, it's not a giant leap from designer to mixer. It's not a crazy leap. So if I understand designer, anyone can infer that okay, you probably get mixer or it's another example like modeling packages. Like, oh yeah, you can model really really well in Maya. It probably won't take you too long to get acquainted with Max. You get the principles, you get the ideas.
Yeah, I mean, when someone's like, "Oh, should I learn Blender now?" And it's like, well, I mean, if you haven't gotten a job yet, I would suggest just like sticking in the package you're in
Mm.
and just pushing forward, because like you can, once you understand one 3D package, you kind of understand them all. You're just learning where the steering wheel is again.
Yeah, it's like learn. God, I said it. I've said this a million times. Like learn to learn. Like just
Yeah.
you're always gonna have to learn a new package, and it's like you're learning principles. Like learn what textile density means, learn what trim sheet is, learn how to build modular kits. Suddenly, that principle it transcends the package. Like it goes between Blender, Modo, whatever it might be. Like I said, you're just learning where the steering wheel and the gear stick is, and that's it. Once you figure out them questions, which is like what a week of hard learning, and you probably get down with it.
Yeah.
You know, that's where all the other stuff becomes more important. Understanding how a trim sheet works, understanding textile density, and how to be clever with it. Them sort of skills are far more important than hey, I know Max really really well. Like great, okay. Well, we use Maya. Oh shit, I'm so attached to my thing, and I know where all the buttons are that I can't remove myself and learn something else.
Right.
That's really dangerous. And that was actually like I think I spoke to you about this when I was trying to pick up Mixer, and I was really getting frustrated that I was like,
I
"Oh,
do
where's the
remember
high
that.
blend?" I was like, "Where's the high blend?" And you're like, "Stop thinking of it as designer. You know what you want to do. Just figure out like what you're trying to do. You're trying to blend these two things together to achieve this look. Stop trying to think of it as like the designer way of doing it. Just how would you do this, but in Mixer? And like
It's one of
it
them.
sounds obvious.
Yeah. I was going to say it's one of the main reasons that people have such a hard time with ZBrush, is because it doesn't really conform to any of the terminology or like button placements or functionality or UX experience. Like the user
Yeah,
experience of it is like,
that's almost a positive though, because I just choose to not conform to ZBrush. I just have like menus on my numbers. Like I just refuse to use ZBrush UI because it just makes no sense to me. So I just set up my own menus, and I'm like, it's
oh,
almost
that's
a
so
duplicate.
funny.
Oh god, yeah. I'm like one is like my generic stuff, like um, controlling subdivisions, polygroups, ZRemesh tools, Dynamesh, and then like two is for like all of my like nanomesh stuff. Three is for all of my matcap stuff, and it's like because I just hate the UI for ZBrush. I can't use it.
Dude, it's funny because now you're saying this and I'm like, I've never sat there and customized ZBrush.
Really?
I've just,
Oh
it's kind of
damn.
a mentality I've had with most programs, and that's probably the downside on ZBrush for me. But like learning, going from Modo and switching to Blender, I've learned before when I was switching to Modo to just not try and make it like the other package and just force myself to learn the way that they're working, and then
Yeah.
I can change things later, which is super difficult to like wrap your brain around early on. It's
Yeah, you
like
sort of
learning to
almost
learn,
accept being
right?
slow. Yeah, and you have to sort of accept being slow for a little bit. It's like an investment. I'll be slow
Yeah.
for now, so that I understand the core thing, and then I'll make it optimized for me later on. If I ever need to default back to the original, I'm not lost because you never know. You might go to a studio and they're like, no, 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 you're not allowed to use your plugin. Like say machine tools. I swear by machine tools. Like for Blender,
Yeah.
I might get somewhere one day and they're like, nope, can't use that for whatever reason. I don't know what reason that might be. Might be some arbitrary reason. And
Right.
it's like, okay, I learned Blender in its basic package, so I should be okay. Although it'd be super annoying.
Yeah.
Um, but it would really suck to do that. Jesus,
You
I
probably
think
just start slowly building machine tools yourself.
I think I'd rebuild all the pie menus. I'd set my own pie menus to be the same as the machine tools pie menus. 100%. I'd have to. I genuinely don't think I could. I think just thinking about like how I use tab and especially the export pie menu. The export pie menu is so good.
Yeah, it's really good. The where you just hold Control S to save, and then you have
Yeah.
everything there.
Mm. And then you get the flicks down, so it's just like Control S and then flick up to like 1 o'clock, and then that's export save as, and like
Hmm.
export repeat, and getting them like as I go through, especially with the Deco, because Deco's a lot of like mass prop stuff, like modular kits. So
Are you
you just
using
get used
collections
to.
a lot?
Yeah, I love because you can number key between collections too. So it's like my stairs modular kit, my walls modular kit, my floor modular kit, and they're all on collections on number pads.
Because Machine Tools has a, if you press Shift C, you get like a bunch of collections controllers.
I haven't looked at that.
I stumbled across it accidentally today and realized I didn't know that that existed. It's like you can
Okay, I'm
purge
gonna check
empty
that out.
collections, and yeah, yeah, there's some
Ooh.
nice stuff in there. Create collections. You can create. It looks like you can create lists.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's
I'm gonna have a
it's
look
really
at that.
nice. I'm like, oh man,
Yeah, because I've literally just been working in the browser and using number keys to go through my collections. I haven't.
yeah,
Yeah, I had no idea that was there. Oh, I'll have to check that out.
yeah, and I use
Shit.
that a lot because like you can have like all of your references on one collection,
Mm.
and then just have that on all the time, and then turn it off when you need to.
Yeah, yeah. Your reference scale stuff. So like, you
Yeah,
have a stair set, a walk set, door, character, and it's like, okay, I need to look at my scales. Okay, stuff's looking okay. I'll turn them back off again. Yeah, I mean, Blender's been nice to learn though. It's nice that it's now my. Last year I kind of just uninstalled Max and strong armed myself into learning Blender. But now it's like the thing I'm comfortable in. It's just like it's just so smooth. I love it so
yeah,
much. And it's not. It's just cool seeing everyone post on like social media, like the neat little things like the cloth modifier. Like seeing that on Twitter, the next update for the cloth sim modifier, and I'm like,
dude, it's
holy,
ridiculous.
it's crazy. And it's like I keep saying this, and I don't think I'm. The more I say it, the more I think it's not going to happen. I always say like, what's the counterpunch? So like when Quixel and Unreal did their thing, I'm like, what's Unity's counterpunch? When
Right?
Mixer Megascans came out, like what's Substance's counterpunch? Blender's doing all this crazy stuff. What's the Autodesk counterpunch?
Did you see
And they're
Unity
not doing
showed
anything.
something?
Did they?
Yeah, I'll have to show it to you after, but it's essentially it looked like some type of procedural material creation tool inside of Unity. It looked a
That's
lot like Substance. And I was like, "Huh, are they really they're going to jump in?" I don't think they would jump in fully. I don't think that would be the intention, but I saw it and my first reaction was, "Oh,
that's
that's
interesting.
procedural
So
materials."
not that's not a bad idea though. We look at Blender with
Mhm.
like the material, the shader builder, and then Eevee, a real time renderer. It's like you're very much in. You could stay in Blender. Like if it weren't the fact that you needed to exit Blender to get into a game engine, you could stay in there for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
You wouldn't need to dip out to like designer or high poly. Look, you could do your Zebra stuff in there. You could do your marvelous designer in there, materials, rendering. Like, there's very little reason to leave Blender unless you need to put something in game engine just to tell everybody, hey, I can use Unreal. But yeah, Blend. It's kind of crazy. This is the great thing about open source, I guess, is you get everybody making this crazy shit for it.
Right. Yeah, and it's all for the most part is free. Uh
Yeah, exactly.
so I'll leave you with one more question.
Come on.
Usually you have your question you ask everyone, and you've changed it as well. Um, I'm crazy about tech. Like always, what's the next cool thing, or what amazing like developments are we having? What's like the most amazing thing you've seen recently that's kind of like grabbed your attention?
Oh, that's a good question. It's probably the one I've put the most thought into is ray tracing. I mean, DLSS got announced by Nvidia, which is
That's the
mind
one that's
blowing.
exciting me. Yeah.
It is, but I haven't put enough thought into it because like ray tracing excites me because I'm thinking past the superficial. Like, okay, it's going to make soft shadows nice and it's going to affect reflections, which I'm like, great, light's behaving the way it should. the thing that excites me about that is what's the next step of, when people start breaking it and make it do things it wasn't intended to do but it happens to do, to
Yeah,
like build levels or like do VFX or whatever it might be. um that's what excites me, because I'm thinking what's the possibilities of ray tracing once people really understand it and start doing crazy shit with it. The DLSS, I'm kind of like,
that's
it
like a face
might,
value benefit, right?
yeah, I'm like, oh, consoles can like catch up big time. Suddenly that gap between PC and console is shrunk significantly.
Yeah, for I guess for
Um,
anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's basically Nvidia found a an optimized way to use the tensor cores and the RTX cards to have AI upscale to almost a better image in some cases, the a 1080 to a 4K,
yeah,
and
and
double the
that better
frame
frame
rate.
rate. Yeah.
Like, you're like, and double the frame rate. How does that even make any sense?
God. Yeah, because you saw it when I saw they used control as an example, and they had like this big medallion like on the top of the wall, and they like in the native version, it's a little bit blurry, like the
Yeah,
resolution
it's
is
like
still
looking
using
at an
a
old
decent.
TV.
Yeah, and then they showed a sharpened version, and I'm like, holy shit, that's the same image, but that's AI who's made that better. AI has actually sharpened it and made it better. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of terrifying. I haven't thought about it long enough to get excited. I think it's like I've absorbed the face value use of it, and I'm like, okay, great, that's cool, that's interesting. I haven't thought about it long enough to get my imagination carried away with me.
Well, because they're teaching the
Um,
AI what it's looking at, right?
yeah,
And then it just learns over time, and that's the learned version is what they're releasing into the process. Now, what if
yeah,
you're developing content where while you're developing, it's learning what you're trying to make? So you can say that this object's got moss all over it on just the
hmm
top, and the moss looks a specific way.
hmm
But when you give it to AI, it pushes it further than you could physically build it. Like actually giving it the fuzziness that changes the silhouette.
Oh shit! So actually, okay, so it
So it actually
understands
starts
this.
creating further than what you could have done.
Right, so it says, okay, this is moss. Hey, this has got a hard edge. Moss shouldn't have a hard edge. It should be fuzzy. And it,
Yeah.
it actually, oh shit, that's some.
So it goes beyond like vertex shaders and
So it corrects you basically.
yeah.
It's like you haven't made. Oh god, that's a slippery slope.
But yeah, RTX people I think imagine face value like with the other stuff we're talking about is like they're thinking about lighting. And I
Yeah,
think RTX is or not RTX. Um oh man,
DLSS.
yes. But the other one, my brain just dumped. I'm like ray tracing. So with ray tracing, I think we're looking at it as like, oh, that's just lighting. But it can go further just with what they're building. Like
Yeah,
like round edge
because
shader. I think that's how that's going to come in.
yes,
Real
that's what I mean.
round
Shit
edge
like that.
shader.
So
That's where round edge shader is going to come in for sure.
yeah, 100%. That's the shit that excites me, because it's like, it's like when normal maps came in. It's like, oh great, normal maps, we make things look 3D when they're not. And they suddenly start using them to break stuff. Oh, we can use our normal maps to dictate when we're going to project moss, and we're going to use normal maps to dictate where, like, shadows or rust or whatever it might be. And I'm like, or like create curvature. And I'm like, great. What happens when we start applying that kind of logic to ray tracing? It's stuff like this, round edge shader. Like, okay, it's designed to do nice shadows, great. But oh, we can actually do this crazy stuff, which it wasn't intended for, but happens to open up doors for us. Um, that's where I'm like, oh, that's interesting, because look how long has normal maps been around for now, and it's still getting new solutions using
Yeah.
normal maps, and I'm like, great, that's like 10 years plus 20 years of like development, and we're still like working out ways to use normal maps in creative ways. I'm like, what is 5 years of ray tracing? Where
Oh,
do
it's
we
going
end
to
up
be
in five
crazy.
years? That's what excited. See, that's where I get excited, and I'm like, I've actually put some thought into that, and that's what's got me excited. Whereas the DLSS, I think it's still, I'm still shocked by it. That I'm like, I haven't really absorbed it and understood it enough to let my imagination get carried away.
Yeah, just look at what they're saying the AI is doing in that video.
Yeah,
Because then once you understand that, then it's like, oh, it's all interpretation, and then recreating what it thinks it needs to look like.
I guess then that route then becomes, oh, can we apply that to just generate in 3D space, and can we just use that to generate, you know, damage on a wall? Oh yeah, it's been in a war torn environment. Okay, well in these bullet holes don't disappear sporadically. Was it in a like? So who's talking to me about this? They were explaining like storytelling environments when people just get shit wrong.
Yeah.
So one of the ones he was talking about was he said he hates it when he sees just like blood and one bullet hole. And the bullet hole doesn't make sense with the blood. So it's like, okay, let's take some scenarios. He was like, one bullet creates like, say it's a sniper round. That pretty much destroy the wall. Like, because that explains it. There's only one blood splat and there's only one bullet hole because it's a sniper shot. And then it's like, but the bullet hole's only big enough to be like a 9mm. And this is an open area, so it's not point blank, and it's probably been shot a few times. Why is there not multiple bullet holes? Oh no, actually it's a 7x16 round. Well, that's fully auto rounds. Why is there not more than one bullet hole?
Yeah. So these
Like,
logics that break.
yeah, but then you imagine if AI can learn that, and it's like, okay, you're in a war-torn environment, everyone's using AKs, which are all fully auto, right? That explains the type of bullet holes and damage I'd expect to see. Or like when you get two bullet holes right next to each other, like the space in between them tends to break off as well.
Right.
Little bits of that, I'm like, if AI can figure that out, it, like you said, correct you. You know what I mean? Like that's where I'm. Oh shit! Now I'm getting excited.
It gets crazy, man.
If anyone doesn't know, this is how our conversations tend to go. We'll just talk about new ideas, and then we'll both get excited and go on these weird rabbit holes.
That's why I left the question for the end, because it's.
Sorry?
This is why I left that question for the end, because you could go. I mean, imagine you have a chair that is too big scale wise because the artist decided like to make it, and it, scale wise it's just wrong. You push it under the table and it just doesn't look right. But in other tables it looks right. If the AI can recognize like form and function and actually change the size of the chair just for that scene, but only in the renders. Like it's only looking at the frames. It's not looking at the geometry.
Yeah, it's dealing with pixels.
Yeah.
So it's just like looking at the pixels and going, these pixels aren't correct.
Yeah, so it could fake.
Oh, so is that how you think it'll be? It'll just fake, it'll create an illusion. Like you haven't actually got any, like you haven't corrected it. It's just going to make it look like it's corrected for the end.
Yeah, the chair is shorter because it's supposed to be for this table.
Oh, Jeremy.
Oh man,
that's dangerous. That's dangerous shit right there.
Chair correction.
Well, you know what? The amount of times I fucking had to do that, like correct that shit. Like, yeah, mate. If an AI
skill's a real thing, man. It's one of the main things I always bring up with portfolios. Make sure your scale is right.
Yeah, and I think that's why blocking out's so important.
Yeah,
all that shit gets fixed in block out if you make, and if you stick to your block out religiously, you're safe. But dude, this has been super fun, and I suppose I apologize to everybody who came here thinking they're going to get a bit of Gabe Newell. You're stuck with little old me and Jeremy. Dude, I appreciate it. Half-Life 3 is not confirmed, but Half-Life Alyx is out, so I suppose like there's that. But dude, thanks for doing this. This has been a great laugh. I've
been
really
super fun.
This.
It really shows me how much work you put into this too. Because
what do you mean?
Like to have a conversation that gives some content other than just us having a chat.
Yeah,
like thinking about what value this can bring to someone hurt my brain.
Yeah, this is where well, I'm a rambler by nature, so I suppose I'm just putting it to good use. So everyone knows, podcast is available on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. But more importantly, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, because the more people who get to listen to this content, it helps more people, and it's been great. Some of the responses I've had where people have found it useful and helped them, get past certain blocks. And also remember, there's a Patreon out there to get access to stuff like exclusive Q&As, help what content you want to see coming in the future. You get to have a say on there. So if you want to support the podcast and help it grow, go to the Patreon. But normally I say the person's name who's been interviewed, but I suppose like Jeremy, thanks so much, and me, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
That wasn't weird at all.
I was trying to work out like normally I say to the guest, thank you for coming on, but it's like this is what is going on here? This is confusing. But yeah, guys, remember to tune in next week, next Wednesday. We'll have I don't know who I've got actually. Who have I got next Wednesday? Let's tease it. Hold on.
Let's tease it.
I don't normally do this, but I think I might start doing this. It's Ole. Ole, the War Dog Studios lead weapons artist, which is going to be interesting. Absolute beast. But yeah, see you next Wednesday, guys.
Later.